something unbelievable happened after the devastating earthquake in Myanmar. And it didn't start with the news or politicians. It started with love. Not the kind you see in movies. The kind you feel, quietly, powerfully, when strangers step up for strangers, just because someone they admire taught them how to care. On March 28th, Myanmar was shaken by a massive earthquake. Homes collapsed, monasteries were destroyed, families lost everything. In moments like this, when the ground literally falls out from under you, the world can feel impossibly dark. But into that darkness came light. And it came from the most unexpected place, the fans of BTS's Jimin. You may know Jimin as a world-class performer, a voice that melts hearts, a dancer who moves like he's floating. But what some people don't see is how deeply he gives, quietly, consistently, without a camera in sight. His fans see it, and this time, they decided to follow his example in the most beautiful way possible. Just days after the earthquake, Jimin's fans in Myanmar mobilized. Not just with words, but with action. They organized donations of medicine, clean water, food, and emergency supplies. But they didn't just drop things off and disappear. From April 1st to 5th, they traveled to some of the hardest hit areas, places the world hadn't even heard about. They climbed into the hills of Sagaing, visiting over 70 monasteries that had been severely damaged. They sat with communities that hadn't received much help at all. They delivered more than supplies. They delivered hope. And they didn't stop there. On April 5th, they expanded their support into Mandalay, reaching even more underprivileged families, and they did it with a local medical team that stayed behind to offer continuing care. Not just a one-time gesture, real, lasting impact. Each box they gave, each hand they held, came with a small message written on it. Like Jimin. 3 simple words, but behind them, a world of meaning. This wasn't a publicity stunt. These weren't wealthy donors. These were everyday people, inspired by one person's quiet kindness to show up for others, to do what they could, together. They even supported a local business, Clean Yangon, by donating to their community relief efforts. And they proudly shared their donation certificate, not to boast, but to encourage others to join them, to pass the feeling on. Another fan group, Jimin Asia Pacific, took it even further. They donated in Jimin's name to save the children, specifically to support families and children suffering after the disaster. Their message? We hope the children and their families can receive the support they need to get through this. And the reason this all feels so real, so human, is because they're not just fans of a celebrity. They're students of his heart. Jimin has been donating quietly for years. Last year alone, he gave 100 million won to support veterans, and another 100 million to help improve education through the Jeongnam Future Education Foundation. His publicly known donations already total more than 1 billion won. And who knows how much more he's done behind the scenes. He's never made a show of it, he just gives. And that ripple has turned into waves. These fans aren't wealthy, they're not part of huge corporations. They're people with everyday lives who saw someone they admire lead with love and decided to do the same. That's what makes this story so extraordinary. Because this is more than fandom. It's a movement of kindness. A quiet revolution powered by compassion, empathy, and the belief that no act of love is too small. In a world that often feels loud and self-centered, Jimin and his fans are reminding us that the most powerful kind of influence doesn't shout. It whispers, it comforts, it rebuilds, and it shows up when the world needs it most. So maybe the question isn't just how popular your favorite artist is. Maybe it's, what has their love taught you to do? If this moved you, if even a little part of your heart feels warmer after hearing this, pass it on. Share it, live it, and remember, kindness spreads faster than anything else. Let's keep it going.